Welcome, fellow seekers. Today we are diving deep, and I mean really deep, into the story of Joseph, but through the incredible, mystical lens of the Zohar. We're going to unpack what it actually means to be forgotten, and you'll see how that state of being is tied into the very fabric of darkness and time itself.
So our journey kicks off with this verse. But before we get into the words, I want you to just feel the scene for a second. Seriously, picture it. Imagine the oppressive dark of an Egyptian dungeon. This isn't just, a room without lights. It's a physical, crushing weight. You can hear the slow, echoing drip of water, marking a time that feels like it's completely frozen. This is the reality of being totally, utterly forgotten. Joseph has hit rock bottom. And it's right here, from this exact point, this end, that the whole story is about to explode.
To really explore these depths, we're going to approach the story in layers. We'll start with a simple narrative, then uncover some hints hidden in the text, map out the cosmic structure it's all pointing to, and finally, we'll get to the core secret, the spiritual engineering of what it means to forget and to remember.
Okay, so let's start on the ground floor, the pshat, the plain simple story. You've got Joseph, the forgotten prisoner, and right there with him is Pharaoh's chief cupbearer. Now this cupbearer just had a dream that, as Joseph will explain, promises he's about to be released and get his old job back. Joseph, with his divine gift, totally nails the interpretation.
Now, what sounds like a completely logical thing to ask, hey, when you get out of here, could you put in a good word for me, is, according to the mystical sources, a huge spiritual mistake. Joseph makes two distinct pleas. Number one, remember me, and number two, bring me out. By putting his trust in a human being, instead of relying completely and totally on the divine, he actually creates this powerful cosmic entanglement.
Two requests, two pleas that anchored his hope in the physical world, and the spiritual result was precise: 2 more years in prison. One for each word of misplaced trust. Now this isn't a punishment. Think of it more like cosmic physics. He essentially plugged into a different electrical system, and that system runs on a completely different clock.
Okay, now let's level up to the remez, the world of hence. The portion itself is called Miketz, which comes from the root word ketz. On the surface, it just means an end. At the end of 2 years. But in the Zohar, a word is never just a word. It's always a key to a deeper reality.
The Zohar immediately connects this word, ketz, to a verse from the book of Job. He sets an end to darkness. You see? So ketz isn't just about the end of a time period. It signals a cosmic boundary, a point where holiness starts to fade and the domain of the other side, the whole system of concealment and chaos, begins. This quote from the pre-etched chime just nails it. Kabbalah explains that there's an end of the right side, which is the peak of holiness, and then there's an end of the left side, which is linked to concealment. So when the Torah uses the word Miketz right at the start, it's like a giant flashing neon sign, telling us that this whole story is taking place at a very specific spiritual address, the far left side, the realm of darkness and judgment.
So let's zoom out for the drosh level and really map out this cosmic geography. Kabbalah describes all of reality, everything, as this dynamic dance between two fundamental forces, the right side and the left side.
Just look at how this breaks down. The right side is all about expansion, giving, kindness. It's associated with light and life. The left side is the opposite. It's about contraction, judgment, boundaries associated with darkness and limitation. And the absolute key for our story, the right is connected to remembrance, while the left is connected to forgetting.
But it is so important to get this. The left side isn't evil. Not at all. It's totally essential. It gives the universe structure, form, boundaries. Without it, everything would just be a formless blob of light. The ideal state is a perfect balance between right and left, with everything being mediated by that central path of mercy. The trouble starts when we fall too far to one side, especially the left, without that balancing energy.
And this brings us to the deepest level, the sod, the secret. We've established that forgetting is a function of the left side. Okay, but what is it? How does it actually work on a metaphysical level? Right here is where we get into the cosmic engineering of the soul.
According to the Kabbalists, especially the holy Arizal, forgetting isn't a passive thing. It's not just an absence of memory. It's an active, spiritual reality. The best way to think about it is like being tuned into a radio frequency that's just filled with static and noise, total concealment. This is the absolute core of the whole secret.
Memory flows from what Kabbalah calls the male spirit. It's a direct, uninterrupted channel of divine consciousness. Forgetting, on the other hand, comes from the female soul, which is meant to be the perfect vessel, the perfect receiver for that divine energy. So think of it like this. The male spirit is the broadcast tower, sending out a pure, clear signal. The female soul is the radio receiver. But when that receiver turns away from the main tower and tries to get its signal from some weak local source, what does it get? Static. It disconnects, it forgets, and it gets forgotten.
So here's the chain of events, the cosmic engineering of it all. By putting his hope in a cupbearer, Joseph, just for a moment, unplugged himself from the right side network of direct divine redemption and plugged himself into the left side network of worldly cause and effect. And the operating system of that left side runs on a logic of strict rules, concealment, and limitation. Its default screensaver is, you guessed it, forgetting. So the system just did what it's designed to do. It imposed its own timeline, its own rules. 2 years of cosmic lag time.
Okay, to make this whole thing really tangible, let's try a different language. Let's reframe this entire cosmic drama in a way that might feel a little more familiar to some of us.
All right, I want you to think of Joseph's journey as the ultimate high-stakes role-playing game. He is the main character, and he is on an epic quest. So Joseph, our player character, is stuck in a really tough level we'll call the Amnesia Dungeon. His main objective, the main quest, is divine redemption. But instead of following the glowing arrow on his map, he decides to talk to a random non-player character, the cupbearer, thinking maybe he can get a short cup. Problem is, this NPC is part of a buggy side quest, and when he activates it, it doesn't help him. Instead, it glitches out the main quest line, completely freezing it for 2 full in-game cycles. 2 years. He got stuck trying to use a glitch and had to wait for the whole system to reset. So, after 2 years of being trapped in this cosmic glitch, this system of forgetting, how does Joseph finally get back on track? How does anyone escape the Amnesia Dungeon and get back on the main pathway to redemption? Well, the only way out is to consciously shift your state of being. You have to actively move from the domain of forgetting, where you feel cut off and alone, to the domain of active memory, where you intentionally reconnect yourself to that divine flow. That is the path to redemption, a state of complete, total reunification with the source.
Okay, so if the left side is this rigid, rule-based operating system, is there like a backdoor, an override code? Well, according to the Kabbalists, you bet there is. There's a spiritual force that can completely break through the cold logic of that system, and it is identified with the number 13.
The 13 attributes of divine mercy. These are supernal channels of pure compassion that exist completely outside the system of cause and effect. It's like having a God mode that can short-circuit the entire logic of judgment and delay. By tapping into this higher system, the flow of remembrance from the male principle to the female vessel is reestablished. The connection gets restored, the main quest is reactivated, and then all of a sudden, Pharaoh has his dreams, the cupbearer remembers, and redemption happens in an instant. And this brings it all home. This isn't just some ancient story about Joseph. It's a map of our own consciousness, right here, right now. So the critical question for us is this. Where in our own lives are we putting our trust in a cupbearer? Maybe it's a person, a job, a system, instead of plugging directly into the true source. Where are we ourselves extending our own exile by choosing the limited system of forgetting instead of the infinite system of remembrance?
Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.